is that?
It's acceptance. Yeah, it is heavy.
Baggage.
It's heavy. Oh.
What you got there?
And I forgot about that. That's guilt.
Guilt?
Yeah, I'm always carrying this.
Yeah. I mean, the kids always make us feel guilty about everything, so I mean, we're just trying to make sure we keep
Never had a problem before.
That's never been a problem before. Check that in the day. Check that in the day.
So, you know,
Okay, I guess
we role play, but we want to talk about it.
yes, sir.
Because, hold on, let me get this out. I'm going to cry. And God has made me so sensitive to the Holy Spirit. So if I start booing, all right, bro, go ahead and finish. But here's what I realized. And the reason why acceptance is larger, because that's been the heaviest thing in my life. And when we deal with these different things, when we deal with this baggage, we talk about it, but how many of you know you got to get, where did it start? You can't just say, well, I got a problem with acceptance, and I need to deal with it. I got a problem with acceptance. Where is the root? Where did this start? Because see what, if I grab acceptance and pull it out and think I got it, and then deal with the root, guess what? It's going to come back.
That's right.
So what I had to realize with acceptance, and the reason I'm sticking with acceptance right now, because that's the major one. That's why it's the heaviest one. And I know the root of it. And those who know my story understand that it started from my childhood with my dad. Looking for acceptance from my father for years. Created this. Now, it used to be smaller than this. And now it got to this. And like I said, I carried it with me for years. It was a weight that I got so comfortable with that I didn't even realize I had it with me. And it was hindering me from doing what God had called me to do. And it actually really hindered me from being who I'm supposed to be, who God created me to be. And it was such a weight that I started looking for it in other places because I couldn't get it from where I really wanted it from. I wanted it from my father. But because I didn't get it from my father, as a child, I started looking for it in other relationships, hanging with the wrong crowd. Then when I got older, sexing out because I wanted acceptance. Then certain crowds, we started drinking because you know what? They accept me for the way I was. So guess what? I'm all in on this one. This thing I carried until I was in my 50s. I got saved and still was struggling with acceptance.
Yes, sir.
So salvation doesn't mean you're delivered. Salvation means, okay, I got my fine shoes, now what am I going to do? Because I still got to walk this walk out. So how am I going to deal with this? So when I talk about that, and I'm talking about, well, let me say what acceptance did to me. There's some byproducts of it for me. Insecurity, low self-esteem. Those were the two. Oh, people pleasing. So y'all, when they said people pleasing, I was in that number. I wanted to be accepted so bad that anybody who said something, I tried to please them because I wanted you to accept me. Going around now understanding that all I was doing was hindering my development, and casting a cloud over who God had called me to be. This was for 50 years of this. And it got to this point. So I'm not going to just keep it on. We're going to tag team on this, okay?
Okay, you tag me in, baby.
Go ahead.
All right. He tagged me in. I'm going. It's only popping. You know, when my husband talks about his baggage, I'm going to take it back to when we first got married. And I'm going to be real quick with it. Because when we first got married, I was just like Adam. I'm like, if I can't talk to him, I can't talk to nobody. So one night I came in and I forgot what we were doing, and I just started unpacking a whole lot of baggage that I had been carrying around for years. And I was like, I'm married now, I can start unpacking this stuff, I don't have to carry this stuff anymore. So I started just sharing all this stuff with my husband. He was like, ho, wait a minute, you need somebody to talk to. I need somebody to talk to. That's you, boo. That's you. I'm like, dude, we married now. I'm trying to talk to somebody.
Y'all struggling with low self-esteem.
He's like, hold on. You're going to need somebody to talk to, maybe somebody at the church or, call Rita or whatever. I'm like, you know what? Let me pack all my stuff back up.
Yeah.
Come on.
I packed all my things back up. I put them back in there because my major thing that can't even fit in my carry-on bag was trust. I couldn't carry my trust around, but I wore it. And everybody that knew me knew that I wore that around. If you said something that I didn't like, my mother-in-law used to always, she would text me and say something, and my whole countenance would change. She said, yep, you ain't got rid of that. It's still there, it's still there. And she's right. I can't play poker because I do not have a poker face. What you see is what you're gonna get. And so I could not carry my trust around, but I wore my trust around. And I think I heard someone else say that they was protecting themselves with some of their baggage. My sister back there, that's what I was doing. I would build a fortress. My strongholds will go up, and I would peek out and see if I wanted to congregate. And Rita was one of those ones that was able to come in from time to time. But like Shalita said, the enemy would even try that and try to tear that apart. Same thing with Tracy. And I allowed it because I was like, guess what? What I'm not gonna be is hurt. What you're not gonna see me weak, you're not gonna see me vulnerable. I thought all of those things was bad, if you will, because of the way that I grew up, the environment that I grew up in. When I came into my marriage with my husband, and I had been married before, that's a whole nother testimony. But when I came into marriage with my husband, I wanted a godly marriage. I wanted a marriage with a threefold cord that is not easily broken. And I was going to do everything that I needed to do on my end and allow God to do the rest. Now, when I first came in, I was telling God everything that He wasn't doing. I was telling him. And then I was praying those prayers like, get him, God, get him. And guess who God did? He got me.
I heard one time.
So yeah, I would pray those prayers and God would deal with me. He was like, okay. Once I got finished, my whole little laundry list of what my husband didn't do or what he should be doing or whatever have you, didn't realize that that was all attached to my baggage. And I didn't realize that that was my baggage that I need to unpack. And I was putting it on to my husband. I was saying, because he's not doing this, that's why I feel this way. Because he did this, this is why I act this way. Because he didn't do this, and the list went on and on and on. Until one day God was like, are you ready? And I was like, ready for what? And I asked the panel that, and God had to really start breaking that thing down. Are you ready for me to come in? Are you ready for me to come into all of those hidden areas, into all that baggage that you've been hiding behind closed doors, all that stuff that, where one way they see you all made up and all cute and all that kind of stuff, but they don't see the inside of you once you go behind closed doors, where you broken down, where you're crawling on the ground, where you're in a fetal position as a grown woman, and the tears are coming down. Because you felt like you were just being an imposter in life. You were saying you were okay when you're not okay. You were saying you were all good and wasn't all good. You were saying that, it's all right, I got this, when you really ain't got it. And then I had to start really dealing with that. And that happened when we had our silent nights.
But before you go there, let me deal with a little bit more of this acceptance and the acceptance thing. Because after I got older, got married, went into a marriage with all of this, insecurities, low self-esteem, struggling with people pleasing, went into a marriage with that. And went into a marriage not thinking of love, not thinking of long-term. We had a child out of wedlock, thinking from convenience. And when we got together, my first wife and I, we had baggage and never dealt with it. And that's one thing about it. When you don't talk about it, it's going to stay there. And that's what happened. We never talked about it. We saw the issue. Some red flags, flags were going up left and right. And we just kept on, and we were battling, verbally abusing each other. And that abuse was from our baggage, and we didn't even know it. Went to counseling, dropped out of counseling, went back into counseling, dropped back out of counseling, and we just was really two jacked up people on a collision course for divorce. And that's what happened. So then what I do, I didn't have enough the first time, right?
That's all right, because God brought him his real wife. Won't he do it? He brought him his real wife. It was so funny how we met, but we ain't gonna go there. Go ahead. Finish it down. I'm gonna let you finish.
Okay. So anyway, okay, thank you. So what happened, I took that into another relationship. Saw the young lady, she looked good. I'm like, okay, she all right with me. We can do this. Got with her just for her looks. And guess what happened?
Didn't work.
Crash course for divorce again. Repeat. You know what I mean? Thank you. That's what I was doing after the second time. Shaking my head like, what is wrong with you? Didn't realize I was looking for acceptance. She wanted to marry me, I felt accepted. But I didn't realize I still was dealing with not being accepted, people pleasing, insecurities. I still was dealing with all this stuff. Never talking about it, just going into this relationship that way. So guess what? Ended up in divorce again. So I was like, you know what, that's it for me. So by the time I met my wife,
then what happened? Then you're good and you're perfect,
come on,
and God's light shines upon you and say you are accepted.
And the funny thing about it, when Alicia and I met, we were friends. I had no desire to be with anybody. And we were just cool. We'd be in church, joking with each other, kidding around,
trying to get the
racing for videotapes from the pastor,
yeah.
Talking smack to each other.
You almost knocked me there that time.
I tried to knock you down.
I know.
So all of this was going on, and what that I realized, I didn't realize God was setting things up. He was setting things up. He said, you need to first have a relationship with somebody you know, like precious faith. I was dealing with people, we were on the same page, but we were still not under God's covering, we were doing it God's way. When Alicia and I met, we were under the same teaching. We had a love for the Lord. My heart had changed, her heart had changed. And actually, when we first started looking at each other from a romantic perspective, the first thing we did was sit down and talk.
Yeah, we did for 5 hours. And it wasn't even my cell phone, y'all. It was a work phone. I thought I was going to get fired the next morning.
Well, what we did was make sure we headed in the same direction. I'm trying to get married. I'm not done with that dating thing. I'm done with this sexing thing. I want to get married on something long term. And she said, I am too.
I said, I'm not looking to be just walking around dating somebody I'm too old and too grown for that. So either you're going to come and step up to the plate or you're not. And it's okay if we just going to have this conversation and just be friends. And so he said, well, I think I like you. And I said, I think I like you too.
But we still had the same stuff. I still had lack of acceptance.
I still have the baggage now.
I still had insecurity.
Yeah, I got some of that over
I was
here.
still from people pleasing.
It's in my security bag.
And then on top of that, because my second wife and I had divorced and I was separate from my kids, guilt slid in. So that's when this came in.
I didn't pull
That's what
out
this
that
came
guilt. I didn't pull out, since you had that, I thought you had another guilt for one.
Yo, that's big, that's good enough for
Yeah.
But the guilt came in because now, going from being around my sons on a day-to-day basis, I was picking them up every other Saturday. So we were close. My family, Jay, everywhere I went, my boys went. So now it's like, how are you gonna do this? What did you do wrong? How did this affect them? That's when the guilt came in.
Absolutely. When he talked about the guilt, and I saw the guilt when he brought it into the marriage, and I was like, oh, you're gonna have to get that up out of here. But all jokes aside, I was like, you have no reason to feel guilty because you're here, and they know you're here. and we've opened our doors to all of our kids. We're a blended family. We have 7 kids, and I mean, we got 12 plus. Yeah, we got 12 plus grandkids coming up. We got 12 and 1 counting, some 13 grandkids. I forgot. Anywho,
Multiply.
yeah, they multiply. We empty nesters. But when he brought the guilt in, it was so heavy, and I could see it weighing him down. And when you can see your mate being weighed down by something, you have to do something. So the only thing that I knew to do at the beginning was to pray. And I still do that. I just pray, I pray. And then when I go into my prayer closet and I come out, God had me to do different things. And so I had to do different things when they were coming to his children. We've had to have 2 of his oldest 2 children live with us for a short period of time. They didn't want to, but they did. And his oldest daughter, her mom came to Marlow, and we went down there, and me and her talked and everything, and she was so broken. We sat there in the kitchen, and she was very downcast when she was asking me, can her daughter live with her father? In that moment, I broke, because it was a trigger for me being in that predicament, because I could remember my mom asking my grandmother, can I live with her? I can remember as a teenager being pregnant with my oldest daughter at 15, and my mother asking my kids' father's parents, can I live with them? So what was I going to tell this woman that her daughter, the father of her daughter, which is my husband, that she can't live with us? Never. So I had to show her, as well as to help get some guilt off of him. I had to get that guilt off. Okay, we're gonna take a little bit off. We're gonna slice a little bit of that guilt off. We're gonna bring her on in the fold. Did she want to be there? No, she didn't want to be there. She hadn't had that relationship with her father. So she couldn't have the relationship with me until she had the relationship with the father. And that's what God tells us. You need a relationship with me.
That's good. That's good.
The Father.
If the vertical relationship ain't right, the horizontal will be jacked up. The vertical's got to be right. And that's where I had my angles wrong. My angles were here, they needed to be here. And I wasn't listening. I was saved and wasn't listening.
Absolutely. And what he didn't realize, and what I don't think we realized at that moment, and we talked about it in this session, is how your baggage is impressed onto the child. And that's what was happening to his daughter. She had baggage from not just her mom, but also her father.